So right here we've got the new Nexus 5 alongside an HTC One. Just going to be doing a quick hardware comparison here. Show the differences between the two in terms of size, speakers, display, things like that. So to get started with the most obvious things. The width between the two, it looks like the Nexus 5 is going to be, it looks quite a bit thicker. The HTC One looks about as thick as this black band. The bump is going to give it a little bit more width, but the HTC One's definitely going to win in the thinness department. As far as height goes, HTC One's actually a little bit taller, even though the screen is a little bit smaller. It's a 4.7 versus 4.95 inch screen. And you can see here the top of the screens are aligned pretty well, but the Nexus 5's screen goes down. Coincidentally, just about the same length that the buttons are on the Nexus 5. So you can see if you're looking at them side by side, let's line the top of the screens up. The button navigation bar on the Nexus 5 is actually a little bit above what you have here on the HTC One, so maybe your usable space is similar, if not maybe a little bit more on the HTC One. So the HTC One is going to be a little bit taller, a little bit thinner, and as far as width goes, I'm going to say this one's about a draw. You certainly can't see the Nexus 5 behind that. You can't see the HTC One behind that. So they feel, or at least in your hand, they're about the exact same width. As far as holding the two, the nice curve on the entire back of the HTC One definitely lends itself to your hand. The rounded back on the Nexus 5 is really focused on the edges, as opposed to the entire back on the HTC One. So the HTC One is going to feel a little bit better in your hand in terms of how you can cradle it. With that said though, the lack of aluminum gives the Nexus 5 a much lighter weight feel. So you're going to get a bit more heft on your HTC One, and with that you're going to get a kind of a nicer aluminum body. With your Nexus 5 you're just looking at plastic or rubber all around, but it's definitely going to be lighter in your hand. And let's see, yeah, they're both pretty evenly balanced in terms of the weight. The notification light on the Nexus 5 is going to be down here. It is multicolored. You can at least make it multicolored. You open up the Light Flow app. This is a good app if you want to just really customize your customize the lights. Let's see. Alright. Tools. Test. So as you can see, you can get RGB LED bulb notification coming down here. On your HTC One you're just left with a green, or when you're charging it, let me just plug it in here to a charger. You have it's green or red, so it's just two colors in the HTC One at the top of the phone inside the speaker, whereas the Nexus 5 is going to be at the bottom and it's RGB. So we're not trying to claim winners here, but the Nexus 5 is clearly superior in the notification light category. Speakers though, HTC One wins outright by a mile. The Nexus 5 just has the one speaker. It appears to have two speakers. This is a single mono speaker. This is actually a microphone. It's in a really awkward location too, so if you are, let me start playing something here. So you can hear this. It's a pretty loud speaker. Speaker sounds good, but if you're playing a game, it muffles the speaker. And my pinky seems to muffle the speaker a lot. So that speaker placement, it's better than the Nexus 4. The Nexus 4 was right on the back. It's better in terms of if you have something laid face down. And the Nexus 4 wasn't great either, because if you had it resting in your hand like this, you were going to be muffling the speaker. Nexus 4 speaker is right there. So something like with your pinky right here, you're covering the speaker. HTC One, ever since it came out, one of its nicest features was the speaker location. That's going to be right here. 2 speakers, stereo speakers, almost in any position. Even if you have one covered up, obviously you can hear the other one. So that is definitely superior on the HTC One. The displays, now that we got them both on, now that I can turn them both on, the displays are pretty similar. They're both 1080p displays. The Nexus is a 4.95 inch 1080p, so that puts it at, I want to say, like 440 ppi. But with your navigation bars, the usable space is again a little bit less. Your HTC One is 1080p at 4.7 inches, so it's going to have a higher PPI. The display on the HTC One looks a bit crisper, and the colors are nice. The Nexus 5 is a bit washed out. You can see the black levels on the Nexus 5 are a lot brighter than they are on the HTC One. So the display on the HTC One is still hard, if not impossible, to beat than the in terms of an Android phone. So we got the camera. Get that dog hair off. Center camera on the HTC One. That's always good. It makes it a lot easier to always know where you are when you're taking a camera or taking a picture or a video. It's just a lot easier to line up when the speaker's right in the, or the camera's right in the middle. In the same location as it was on the Nexus 4, your camera is going to be in the upper right when it's facing you, left when you're holding it. Both cameras are pretty good. I'm not entirely impressed by either. I've noticed that the Nexus 5, I haven't really put too much time with the HTC One, but the Nexus 5 takes some really good macro shots. So let's see, in my very first picture, not the pizza, this. So it's going to come across pretty washed out here, but you can see some pretty fine detail on this picture on the Nexus 5. I was really impressed with the macro shot on here. No adjustments been made to this picture. Like I said, I'm not too familiar with the HTC One's camera. Let's try to get this back in focus. It's certainly not bad, but I don't think either are ones that you're going to be trying to take a photo shoot with. So with all that said, you're looking at, as far as size goes, you're talking about a weight differential and how does it feel in your hand. So I'd say, you know, go to the store, try to hold both of them. I think you can find the Nexus 5 in stores pretty soon. HTC One's been on the market for a while. As far as size, they're about the same. Weight, your Nexus 5 is going to be a clear-cut winner on that. Body style, that's just going to be personal preference. You know, and as far as I'm concerned, this is my Nexus 5. I really like the Nexus 5, the way it looks, the way you can hold it, and you get a little bit less concerned about having this rubberized back than you might about having an aluminum back. As far as speed of the devices, I'm going to say that the Nexus 5 is a lot faster. It's got a 2.3 gigahertz quad-core Snapdragon processor, and I think it's a Snapdragon 800, whereas the HTC One's working off Snapdragon 600 quad-core. Maybe that's also 2.x gigahertz. So both incredibly fast phones. You're not really going to have any issues with speed. One's not going to feel incredibly faster than the other, but I do think that the Nexus 5 is a bit snappier. front-facing cameras, you know, both on the opposite sides of each other. I think that's going to be about it for this video, but if you got any questions about comparing the two of them, just let me know in the comments. Thanks.